Alright, I'm out here in the bee yard. Gonna give y'all a little tour of it. Show you what I got going on. What I've been doing over the summer. Talk for a second about what I'm hoping to do over the winter and some goals for next year. Right now there's just pollen pouring in these hives. There's a couple different shades of yellow, goldenrod, and something else. There went some goldenrod. There's a very light colored pollen. There went some. You see how much is coming in. It's just a constant stream. So that constant stream of pollen, coupled with somewhat simulating a nectar flow by feeding them sugar water, is keeping up brood production pretty good in these, and they're still expanding, and hopefully will continue over the next several weeks before it gets chilly. This is the front end of the yard. These four here are some of my newest splits. They were made right at the end of August. I took some cap brood and some bees out of more established hives, added a mated queen in, and just let them do their thing. They're building up nicely. I had hoped that they'd build up enough to be transferred into a full-size box, but I'm thinking they'll probably just stay in these over winter. We'll see. We'll see how they do over the next several weeks. A lot of nice forage out here. Goldenrod is in full bloom. It's the last full-time nectar source and pollen source for the bees before winter. I think we can see a few honeybees on it right now. There we go, there's one collecting pollen. They're eating it up. My bee yard here is in the back of the property. You can see my roof of my house over there. So I started this year in March with 3 hives that had come through the winter. One was very weak and ended up not making it. They were up here on this front stand. So I got down to 2. I'm up to 40 right now. About half of those are from mated queens that I purchased, and about half are queens that I produced and were mated locally from drones in the area, which ultimately is what I'm after for 2 reasons. I can control what queens I'm propagating from, and they're being bred by drones, the male bees, that are thriving in this area. There's a little more that goes into it than that, but also queens I make don't cost a bunch of money. So these 2 hives on either end were ones that I had in April. We'll check them out. Same thing, bunch of yellow and light colored pollen coming in. See some fanning going on here by the entrance, just to cool the hive. They're still actively producing honey, just on smaller levels. Here we have more 5-frame nukes. This one without a bucket on top is queenless. It was a little iffy. I wasn't sure if a queen was in there or not. I checked yesterday, there was not. So that hive is just gonna, the bees are gonna be shook out, and I'll divvy the combs up between some of these others. that need them. As you can see, ton of action going on. It got pretty chilly last night, but the bees are still hitting it pretty hard. Down here we have my earlier splits that have expanded enough to be moved into a 10-frame box. They're doing good. Still a little confusion outside of this one. It got moved into the large box yesterday and they're still trying to figure it out. So all in all, it's been a fairly productive summer. My goal was 50 hives. Basically just I thought that was the most I could possibly pull off. I got close with 40. I cost myself 6 or 7 hives just with mistakes, both with making queens and feeding them. But live and learn. We know for next year. If you see that piece of cardboard there, I'm just filling up a crack. The bottom of that box was a little bit rotten and the bees were all getting in and out there. I'm in the middle of making a whole bunch of brand new bases and lids. Try to get everything the same, everything painted. Swap out some of this unpainted equipment and get it painted. So we'll see what happens. Goals for next year, I want to have 15 or 20 hives just for honey production. I know a lot of people have been wanting honey, and I didn't get a thing this year because I just focused on expanding the amount of hives I had, which resulted in basically no honey whatsoever being produced. We'll have to wait and see how many hives successfully come through the winter. But whatever it is, I'm going to probably try to take half of what I have next March and April and just use them to make honey. And the other half, I'll continue to do what I was doing here and just keep propagating them. I'd like to get up to somewhere near 300 hives over the next year or two. So we'll see. One day at a time. But this is a pretty good start. I'm happy with it. Been quite the learning curve, especially just the logistics of dealing with so many hives. It's a lot easier to spend all kinds of time babying 2 or 3 hives through the summer than it is doing 30 or 40, because you simply just can't spend that amount of time watching over each hive and just micromanaging them. The bees don't need to be micromanaged, but you also got to kind of figure out what works and what doesn't, and that's just part of the process. So anyhow, that's the bee yard. If y'all like these videos, I'll keep doing some. Hopefully this coming week I'll be able to do one of just an inspection inside a hive and show you everything that's going on and how they function as a unit. Alrighty. See y'all next time.